Okay, it's great to be here in sunny Zurich, actually. We brought some sun and it's really hot, so it looks like Barcelona at the moment. So I hope I'm here to tell a story about what we're doing in Barcelona and why I think cities are really an exciting place for the digital revolution, and why a lot of people now working in tech will bet that digitalization will start from cities, where people are, where people live their life, and where it's really important to make sure that technology will serve its citizens and their needs. So I'm not Catalan, disclosure, I'm Italian, but I'm the only foreigner in the Catalan government, and I was called by our mayor, Ada Colau, to basically transform Barcelona into a future digital city. And we are trying to make it like a laboratory for a sustainable and democratic future, which is a really exciting job. So I was appointed as CTO of Barcelona, Chief Digital Innovation Officer, and now more and more cities are appointing this new role in government, which is about putting together, not really marketing, tech, and engineering, but all the different departments of the city hall to work together, digitalize the city, and make sure that cities are an ecosystem or can become a real ecosystem for digital innovation. So this is the Barcelona City Digital Plan, and so my job is really to do digital transformation, which means to make government more open, more collaborative, more digital, more interacting with citizens in an easy way, to do agile development and to transform government for the better, and to develop a city data infrastructure on top of which we can build all data-driven, exciting services of the future. I'm also in charge of digital innovation, which means how we build a tech ecosystem, how we work with startups, how we create a digital hub in Barcelona. If you've been there, you know what I mean. It's a vibrant city where a lot of people and a lot of tech people want to go there, of course, for the sea and the sun, but also for the technology ecosystem. And then digital empowerment, which means how we do digital skills, digital education, and digital democracy. So this is Ada Colau. She's the mayor of Barcelona, and she has been defined by The Guardian the most radical mayor in the world. And this is why she comes from a bottom-up citizen movement. She's the first female mayor of Barcelona. She's an ecologist, she's a feminist, and she was really elected to government to bring people inside the institution. So her motto was like, democratize Barcelona and make sure that the collective intelligence of citizens can be integrated into the decision-making process. So what we've done with our smart city is we didn't think that the smart city is, maybe that came from marketing of the big tech vendors, which started to pitch the smart city as the next big thing. But we couldn't go out the street, out the city hall, and explain to citizens what is a smart city. So if you go outside here, maybe in this crowd, you know what it is, but if you walk outside and you talk to your citizens and you say, we're building a smart city, what it is, they wouldn't know. So we wanted to move away from a technology-driven approach of the smart city, starting from connectivity, sensors, big data, the blockchain, or the new tech thing. And we wanted to move from a top-down, tech-driven vision of the smart city to a bottom-up, citizen-first vision. So what we've done is we started with the real problems that the cities have. In the case of Barcelona is affordable housing. I think also in Zurich, I've heard this is becoming a really big thing. Of course, healthcare, sustainable mobility, and the energy transition, how to fight climate change and how to make our cities greener and more sustainable, creating more green spaces, and a more participatory democracy. So not technology-driven, but start with the real issues, the real environmental and social problems that the cities are try to tackle, and then only after we ask, how can technology, data, help us to solve those problems, because otherwise we end up in technological solutionism and we don't know what problem. Actually, we end up solving technology problems instead of the real challenges of our times. So what we've done in Barcelona to make this vision a reality is building a collective intelligence for democracy. So 400,000 citizens participated into shaping the agenda of the city of Barcelona, and 70% of the proposals, which is our action plan today in government, was defined directly from citizens. I don't know if we have anybody in the audience from the city of Zurich, but I think this is a pretty extraordinary process, because usually the city plan is made by bureaucrats, bureaucrats in a closed room. There is very little interaction with the citizens. And we managed to do this kind of hybrid process of online democracy and offline democracy, neighborhood by neighborhood, involving people. It took us 1 year. And now citizens are involved into taking on the different services that we are developing for the city of Barcelona. One of the projects that has been very famous, if you Google Barcelona Superblock or Superilla in the newspaper as well, is our big plan to fight climate change. So we know we are in a climate emergency, and what we've done to block CO2 emission, we want to drastically reduce it 40% in the city of Barcelona, is to close off 12 districts of the city to traffic. In this way, we've recuperated 60% of public space, and we turned this public space into green citizen spaces. So we worked with urbanists, with designers, with architects and residents, and we redefined the use of this space. So now if you go here, like there is a super block, for instance, in Barcelona at 22. If you've been to Barcelona, this is the tech city space. And this super block now, you have kindergarten, you have local businesses, you have lots of green, 400 hectares of new green in Barcelona, 300 kilometers of new bicycle lanes for bicycle. So we're turning it into a green, sustainable city. Another, I think, very exciting project is the Barcelona renewable energy suppliers. So Europe has a big plan of transitioning towards renewable energy to make it energy transition more sustainable and to have energy sovereignty. So Barcelona created a municipal operator for clean energy. It's only solar energy, and all the public building receives clean solar energy from this operator. And now we have a pilot of 22,000 particular homes. And we have a digital grid, so we are experimenting with decentralized digital grid production of energy with peer-to-peer, so the cooperatives or citizens themselves can produce the energy, it goes into the grid, and we're using decentralized ledger like a blockchain to measure what kind of energy we spend. In order to create this kind of big project at city scales, we had to change government inside, and I'm sure you know how difficult that is. So we put forward an agile, open source digital transformation of the city government of Barcelona. And we firstly wanted to eliminate corruption to make sure that citizens see what we're doing. We publish everything in open data. You can see how we spend our budget. But we also wanted to make government better into delivering digital services. So we created an agile transformation team inside the 300 people tech company of the city of Barcelona. And now we're doing much more agile service delivery. And we're also using 80% of our IT budget in open source and free software whenever it's possible. We're using open interfaces, open API, and open standards, and interoperable service. And I tell you what, I mean, this looks a bit boring, maybe if you don't work in government, but if you use open licensing and open source software and you develop a service in Barcelona, this can be reused by many other cities, like Zurich itself. And one thing we've done, that was about procurement. Procurement, another non-sexy word, but this is what governments do. Basically, governments spend your money, citizen money, to create better services and deliver better things, better products. And what we've done is we created technology clauses in our procurement standards. So, for instance, now the data that all the providers collect when they run a service in Barcelona gets transferred back to the city hall in machine-readable format. So this data become a common good that is owned by the citizens of Barcelona. I think when you see what it means to transform governments to make digital services and to digitalize all the internal processes, but also how do you make a city smarter, the core of this is data. And I think we are asking a very big question in Barcelona, which is, will data in the future be controlled by big business, which is mainly some US companies in Silicon Valley or the Chinese tech giants, by the state, and I think many people don't feel very comfortable about that, or by citizens themselves? And in Barcelona, we are trying to rethink, what is the business model of the digital society? And at the moment, we see that, of course, data is the raw material of the 21st century, and it's becoming more and more a big political question. Like, this is Angela Merkel last year in Davos, and she said, who owns the data will decide at the end whether a democracy, a participatory social model, and economic prosperity can be combined, meaning who has the power over data and artificial intelligence will be able to control the future of the world. So it's a very important question. And at the moment, the situation with data is that it is controlled by a handful of big companies. And these are mainly exactly the big US companies or Chinese companies. And some people are very concerned, of course, about surveillance. And this is Susanna Zuboff from Harvard Business School, a friend of mine. And she wrote a book. I think you should read it if you work in tech. It's called Surveillance Capitalism. And she says that under surveillance capitalism, you are not the customer or even the product. You are becoming the raw material, meaning us with our data that we continuously hand over to all the tech companies. So what we've done in Barcelona from the ground up from cities is proposing a new deal on data and give back data sovereignty and data control to you, to the citizens, to the individual. So we put forward a very ambitious data strategy that has privacy, security, and ethical use of data at the very core, and we're creating a data infrastructure at city scale with open standards and open API. And we also put forward a framework to assess automated decision systems, or so-called artificial intelligence, and ensures accountability so that cities can become new custodians of the digital rights of its citizens. As I told before, there is a lot you can do with data to make governments, institutions, organizations better. So like the open data portal, the open budget. So if you now go on the portal of the City of Barcelona, you see our salary, how we spend the money, in what we invest, how we allocate resources, but also anti-corruption. So we have been pioneering an infrastructure, it's called Bustia Etica, it's based on Tor, who works on security. It's a cryptographic protocol that enables you to file questions of corruption, keeping your anonymity. It's the same technology that's used by WikiLeaks, and we use it for city administration people or citizens that can file cases of corruption. And then we have a committee that acts on them. We also have an Internet of Things platform in Barcelona, and this is called Sentillo. It's open standards, so it has been reused now in Dubai, in Helsinki. Other cities are picking up and just deploy this infrastructure. And we use it to monitor the city in real time, remotely. So we're doing lots of tests on energy monitoring, noise monitoring, the water management, so that we can recuperate lots of money in managing the water more efficiently. We have an urban lab, so the IoT infrastructure can be opened up to startups and SMEs that can test their new products. We're doing it garbage collection, so that you can see what you collect, and you can divide the different things, and you can have a much more efficient transportation system. And we have parking slots that are allocated based on the needs. On top of this IoT platform, we have a data lake where we standardize the ontology, so we can describe what data we get, data from things, data from infrastructure, data from people, and the open data of the city. And on top of that, we can create machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms so that we can take better decisions using data. So this is the infrastructure of the city, but in order to do that, we had to create a mayor's office for data analytics. So I appointed the first chief data officer of all of Spain, but it's actually the first chief data officer of Southern Europe in a city. And now we have an office of 40 people that work on machine learning, data science, and of course we are collaborating with university and research centers to get the talent that we need and help the cities to analyze this data and take really concrete decisions that are able to improve our city on a daily basis. And we are mandating also for data and algorithmic transparency, because we don't want big black boxes, so we don't know what goes in and out, and we can't regulate it, and we can't take better decisions. Based on this kind of data, we're also experimenting on the future of data that is less centralized and more decentralized, giving back the control to the citizens. So Barcelona is running a flagship project funded by the European Commission of about 5 million at the moment. And we developed a decentralized distributed ledger, or so-called blockchain, with cryptographic protocols, made it easy, that enable citizens to control their data. So it's the citizen that decide what data they want to keep private, what data they want to share, with whom, and what is the terms for sharing and accessing the data. So this is a kind of new pact on data, but also it's granular access control of data, what we call data entitlement. And now we're able to integrate this blockchain infrastructure with cryptography. Cryptography, we think it's a human right in the digital society, so you should be able to be security, privacy, and ethics by design in the way you use your services so that you can control better your data. And now, for instance, we are able to integrate the decode infrastructure, the blockchain, into the way we share sensor data. So we are working with citizen groups that put Arduino boxes in their homes, very low-tech open hardware, to measure CO2 emissions and measure noise in the street, so that they could tell the city, this is not working, this is what you should do. And now the citizens group are able to share sensor data about climate or environmental things in a secure way. And they decide with whom they want to share the data. Maybe you want to share the data with your community and with the city so that you can improve transport, but maybe you don't want to give this data to an insurance company or an advertising firm, or maybe you don't want to give it to Uber. So this is our plan, and this is what we're doing. We are creating a data commons, data as infrastructure, data as public infrastructure owned by all the citizens, and then we open up this data, and on top of this data, we call SMEs, startups, innovators, cooperatives, citizens themselves, data journalists that can use this data to develop future data-driven and artificial intelligence-driven application in healthcare, education, mobility, and so on. And I think this becomes a collective resource that can empower a lot of urban innovation in cities and also a lot of the tech ecosystem and attract talents to work on that. So we are doing all of this infrastructure and digitalization processes also to create more economic development and more innovation. So this is exactly where the startups are in Barcelona. This is Barcelona Tech City, is in Ciudad Vella on the sea. You can see why all the people now doing Brexit, a lot of technology companies want to move to Barcelona. You're also welcome to come. I don't want to steal all the tech talent from Zurich, but definitely a very nice place to be. And we have now hundreds of thousands of startups that are working to create better products. What we're doing is also how we can bring together the tech talent with the city and the small companies with the big companies. So we created the Urban Innovation Lab. It's a physical space in Barcelona. It used to be, you can see it here, it used to be a big textile factory. And now it's an Urban Innovation Lab where SMEs that have a good idea, or startups, or companies can go there, and we match them with city problems. So we say we have problems in mobility, in affordable housing, we want to solve this particular thing in the city, and then the big tech companies can fund the challenge, and the startup can work together with the city to solve a specific problem. And this is now very successful, also because cities are collaborating with each other. So we launched an affordable housing challenge with the city of New York, and now the startup that won the challenge can build the solution in Barcelona and New York at the same time. And now we're doing the same with Berlin, with Amsterdam, and other cities, so you can create a global marketplace for solutions that really respond to concrete city needs. And we're also sharing data, so you can have access to valuable data to build your products, which we think is very important. We are also experimenting with the fourth industrial revolution, or so-called the automation revolution. And what we're doing is we created a part of the city that's called the Maker District. So we're bringing together the big companies that develop fourth industrial revolution technology or automation technology for manufacturing with the makers movement. So there are maker places and what we call the new digital artisans of our times. And they have 3D printers, meeting, open laser facilities, all these facilities that are open to citizens. And you can enter there and you can get new skills, and also you can work on future projects, rethinking the urban manufacturing of the future. And this goes in the direction of creating a more circular economy where cities produce what they need, and there is renewable energy, and you recycle plastic, and you recycle material, and you can do that locally. So we are creating productive cities that produce locally, but also then they can spread globally. We are, of course, as many other cities, doing lots of 5G trials. So at the moment in Barcelona, you have 3 districts where you have 5G deployment. And what we want to make sure is that 5G can serve, the needs of SMEs or citizens. So we are lining up, use cases in healthcare. We presented at the last Mobile World Congress the first connected ambulance that goes on 5G, so that doctors can do remote operation connected through the 5G network. And we are trying to do a lot of tests where we open up a 5G platform, which is called 5G Barcelona, so that also small companies can participate and can try and start testing the new technology. And Europe obviously is lagging a bit behind on 5G, but we have to push this forward, and cities are the place where 5G technologies will be deployed and is deployed at the moment. So how can you do successfully all these kind of projects, creating a real innovation ecosystem that serve the citizens in a city? So our secret is to create a hub. So Barcelona is a digital hub. Of course, many of you come for the Mobile World Congress that we have every February in Barcelona, where we have the tech industry coming to Barcelona. We also have a Smart City Expo. We have a Mobile World Capital, which is an institution that helps us to develop all these projects. But the most importantly is how we partner the city organization with research centers, universities, SMEs, business schools, big companies, and we can move together towards one direction. And I think mobilizing bottom-up this tech talent and being able to innovate is one of the things that cities are doing very well, and one of the things that we're trying to do in Barcelona. I just want to mention before I finish that it's very important also to invest, of course, in education and empower people, because otherwise the digital revolution will be a privilege for the few that can afford it, but not a right for the many. And we cannot get people involved into developing this kind of project. So we're trying to do a lot of education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in school curricula, so that people can learn. We open up 4 fab labs that are now working with schools, so that very young kids can learn these digital skills very earlier on. And we want to develop these in every neighborhood so that we have digital inclusion. Together with this, now you mentioned fintech at the beginning, governments are doing lots of experimental work when it comes to cryptocurrency or digital currency. And Barcelona, much before Libra, the Facebook digital currency, started with the implementation of a digital currency that now can be used in different neighborhoods in Barcelona to boost local commerce. And of course, we cannot not mention that we need to make sure that this digital revolution will be feminist. So we need more women in tech. We need to empower women in tech. How was the first slide? Well, this year you have more women, but obviously if you look at the statistics, we have only 30% of women in IT research in Europe. We have 20% of women in IT careers. From university to the industry, we are really not there in making sure that the 50% of this world population, women, are going to be driving the development of the future society. So we need to make more work to empower women in tech, and also to make visible the female talent in the city. And that's, we're doing a lot of things with governments and companies to make sure that we reduce the gender digital gap. So let me really conclude by saying that why I think that it's very exciting what is happening in digital in cities, and why cities are going to be driving this development in the future is not only because of urbanization and because cities are close to citizens and they understand better their needs, but it's because cities are able to work in partnership and in networks. And I'm chairing a CityCIO's council, so it's a council globally of cities' chief innovation officers, and cities are really working as an alliance, building bridges among cities, building bridges with technology startups, with innovators, with universities. This is the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. It now has received from the European Commission the fastest supercomputing in Europe, exascale computing, where we're experimenting with quantum and so on. So it's very important that this talent gets linked to the city, and we can work again to target our pressing global social challenges, from affordable housing to energy transition to climate change, together, using technology for good. And one really final project, if you're interested in what cities are doing, I launched a coalition together with New York Cities and Amsterdam, which is called Cities Alliance for Digital Rights. And now it's backed by the UN Habitat, and there are over 45 cities that joined this coalition globally, also in Latin America, Asia. And this is an important statement for cities, that we start rights first. We put the digital rights of citizens, security, privacy, ethics, data sovereignty, digital skills, digital education. We put this first, and then we build a people-centric digital society that has people at the very core. And I think we are trying to give our example on how you can achieve this together in cities, and then make diversity, participatory democracy, and inclusion the real digital standards of our society. And hopefully, like Europe and nation state, will learn from what cities are doing and from what Barcelona is doing, and try to really propose this kind of people-centric vision for the digital age that we so much need. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope this was an inspiring story, and I hope in the future we'll see much more also cities from Switzerland to join this coalition, and you can check the Cities for Digital Rights coalition online. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Francesca. That was a truly inspiring talk. Somehow I love technology topics. This thing of like thinking from the people of Barcelona first, and to think from this scope and angle, I think that's exactly what we also try to do, and therefore I found this and many other angles extremely inspiring. Of course, we would like to equip you with our socks and our infamous hoodie and a set of chocolate.
Great, thank you so much. Fantastic.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.